Hello there, this is Welsh ASMR 82. Hey, how you doing? So we are on the iPad today and we're going to take a look in this football ASMR video where I'm going to talk really calmly and maybe you'll just get chilled out listening to me in the background. We're carrying on with our series that we're doing on how is so-and-so's season gone. And we've already done AC Milan, Spurs, Man United. I've had a lot of requests to do Arsenal amongst others. I'll catch up with quite a few over the summer now that there are fewer matches on. So Arsenal, how has their season gone? If I had to sum it up in one word, I don't think I could, because ultimately it's not been a complete failure in the sense that, you know, they came second in the league, they got to the semi-final of the Champions League, they didn't do horrifically badly in the Cups, but again, they haven't won anything. They haven't won the league again. So Man City didn't win it this year, but Liverpool ran away with it. They didn't win a European Cup. Okay, to be fair, they got to the semi-final against Paris Saint-Germain, arguably one of the better teams in the whole competition this year, beating Real Madrid along the way, humbling Real Madrid actually, they did so well against them. And like I said, they came second in the league. So why are people disappointed? Well, because Arsenal are a big club and they want to win things. And so I think the major frustration has come about because this is like the 5th or 6th season for Arteta. I forget. And, you know, yes, there's been massive progress from a team that wasn't even getting into the Champions League to now getting to the semi-finals. Fair enough. And a team that was getting 5th every year is now 2nd. Fair enough. But when's that patience going to run out? Because football fans are football fans. And they want to see results and they want to see their teams winning things, right? So the interesting thing is, when Arsenal fans' patience, when is that patience going to run out? Okay, let's have a look at the results then. So we had opening season game in August against Wolves 2-0, away to Aston Villa, very good result, 2-0. Then a draw with Brighton, who have been so sporadic this season. Then the derby went against Spurs away from home. Then a draw in the Champions League with Atalanta, who have had a cracking season this year. A draw with Man City. Now at this point, drawing away to Man City is probably like a massive result after the last couple of years, but obviously we know the Man City season kind of goes downhill from there. Arsenal then beat Bolton in the EFL Cup 5-1, so quite easy victory. Then a 4-2 victory against Leicester. Ironically, they beat Paris Saint-Germain then 2-0. But Paris Saint-Germain improved dramatically as the competition went on. They were, if you remember, they nearly didn't get into the knockouts. But at the final sort of last 2 matches of the group stage, the new revamped group stage, and then the knockouts, Paris Saint-Germain have just been sensational. Arsenal 3, Southampton 1, then there was a loss to Bournemouth, which, looking back at the time, probably fans weren't happy with, but I think Bournemouth were like in the top 4 at the time. Then a 1-0 win against Shakhtar Donetsk, then a 2-2 draw with Liverpool. In hindsight, that's quite a good result actually. Another win in the AFL Cup, 3-0 against Preston. Then a loss away to Newcastle. Now we know that Newcastle actually pushed them all the way, and up to a point Newcastle were nearly going to get second. So losing to them in hindsight isn't like the worst thing in the world. They lost to Inter. Obviously they've made the final, so fair enough. 1-1 draw away to Chelsea. They've had a much better season. At the time I think Chelsea were pushing for top spot. This is November time. 3-0 win against Nottingham Forest, which actually is kind of impressive with the season that Nottingham Forest have had. 5-1 win away to Sporting, which is fantastic. I think that was the first game without Amorim for Sporting. I think they just fell apart for a bit. Hammered West Ham in East London 5-2, then beat Man United 2-0, drew away to Fulham, but they've had a good season at home. 3-0 winners against Monaco, who were doing pretty well at the time. 0-0 with Everton. 3-2, that was, I think that, yeah, it was before Christmas. That was when they had no strikers. Then a 3-2 win against Crystal Palace. Then a that was in the Cup as well. Then a 5-1 win a couple of days later against Crystal Palace again. Then a 1-0 win against Ipswich. 3-1 win against Brentford. Loads of wins here, obviously. Draw again with Brighton. A loss at home in the EFL Cup in the first leg to Newcastle. Then, I can't remember what happened here. Oh, Arsenal went out against Man United in the FA Cup. So obviously that was an early round and they were expected to have gone quite far. I did say, when I said at the start of the video, they didn't do well, didn't do too badly in the Cup, so I thought to myself, what happened to the FA Cup though? Yeah, I was wrong. Then they beat Tottenham again, 2-1, drew with Aston Villa, 2-2, beat Dinamo Zagreb 3-0, won away to Wolves 1-0, won away to Girona in the Champions League 2-1, hammered Man City 5-1 in the league, and then of course couldn't get that second goal in the semi-final of the EFL Cup against Newcastle, who would go on and win the Cup. Then, so that was for them that would be a wasted opportunity, but actually, obviously, I'm absolutely delighted that Newcastle lifted the Cup. It's first silverware for them in years. That's great news for them and that club. Leicester 2-0 winners, lost at home to West Ham. Oh, I remember that game, it was bizarre. Then draw with Nottingham Forest. At this point, Liverpool are just running away with it, so we're already thinking, oh god, it's that sort of January, February Arsenal classic where you just lose all the matches. You go out to the Cups, so they're out of both Cups now. Still in the Champions League, obviously, but starting to lose sort of pace with Liverpool at this point. 7-1 winners over Eindhoven in the Champions League, first leg knockout, and they didn't have to play in a playoff, did they? So that was the first round of 16. Draw with Man United in Old Trafford, then a draw at home to Eindhoven, but it was enough to see them through. A 1-0 win against Chelsea, a 2-1 win against Fulham. 1-1 away to Everton. Everton's they've drawn twice with them this year. Then, of course, that massive game, 3-0 winners at home to Real Madrid, but then a draw against Brentford. Then they beat Real Madrid in the Bernabeu, 2-1. Then they hammered Ipswich, and then the wheels kind of fell off a little bit. So, draw with Crystal Palace 2-2, loss at home to Paris Saint-Germain, who literally they couldn't get the ball off them, could they? Loss home to Bournemouth a couple of days later, when their minds were still on the Paris Saint-Germain second leg, 2-1 at home. Then lost to Paris Saint-Germain in Paris, so they're out now of all three Cups. Then a draw with Liverpool, but the league's already gone at this point. And a win against Newcastle and a win against Southampton. So, how has their season gone? Well, I think you can say that it's been a success in some ways. I think there's going to be pressure on the club to get in a really top-class striker. We're talking about people like Victor Gyökeres from Sporting, who they'll have to pay big bucks for, but at this point in time they need that player to get them across the line. They can't be playing, expecting to win the Champions League by putting a defensive midfielder up front, as well as, he's done. But let's have a look at their team. So, in terms of forwards, Sterling, who's barely played, Trossard, who's wide, Gabriel Jesus, who's been injured, Kai Havertz, who's been injured, Bukayo Saka, who's been injured, Gabriel Martinelli, who's had a poor season, Odeye and Nwaneri. So there's just no massive striker there. You're not going to win anything without a proper striker up front. Lewandowski, Haaland, Mbappe. Think of all the big teams. They've all got Martinez of Inter, Um, they've all got like an amazing striker up front, and that's the way it works. You can't get around it. They've done their best they could. Don't get me wrong, but they really should have bought someone at Christmas, shouldn't they? But I'm saying that's easier said than done, though, isn't it? You probably would have had to get a loan of someone who's not playing that well elsewhere and hope they hit the ground running. So Arteta did the best that he could, but maybe they didn't plan properly for the season. Because at the end of the day, Gabi Jesus isn't, a big striker anyway. He's probably better out wide, or he's a bit of a fox in the box. But if you're the thing that I thought about the other day when I was thinking about Arsenal's tactics, they basically have got no one to play it in the middle to. Now Victor Gyökeres would help with that, but obviously they could do with having like a monster up front, like someone massive like a Dzeko. Not saying Dzeko obviously, but someone like Dzeko or Weghorst or someone of that nature, because ultimately they're in this situation, and when you get really, really good in Football Manager, which is what I talk about all the time, I'm going to do a Football Manager video again very, very soon for you, by the way. When you get really good, obviously players defend in a low block. The opposition players defend in a low block, so you can't get in behind. So what do? Well, you've got to go wide. So they've got really good wide players, but if those players are the ones like Sacco who are supposed to be scoring goals, there's just like there's 5 players between them and goal. How are they going to get there? Now Sacco's been doing it anyway because he's literally so amazing. But what they're doing is they're playing out wide, and then the fullbacks are coming over and they're crossing the box. But who the hell are they crossing to? Gabriel Jesus, come on, be serious. Trossard, it's nonsensical. If you have a big guy in there, at least when we're resorting to that tactic, when teams are digging in, you've got someone to play to. What actually has been happening instead is that they've just been playing it out wide, trying to take on their man and then winning a corner, and because their corner routine is so overpowered, they score from corners. And so literally, I'd love to see the stats. How many goals this year have come from set pieces, particularly corners, because they can't break down teams in open play, and they're resorting to beating teams with free kicks. Looking at Declan Rice's free kick against Real Madrid, and corner routines. Let's have a look at their stats. So top players, top scorers. So Kai Havertz had 9. Fair play to him. Gabi Martinelli, I said, had a poor season, 8. But then no one's got over 10 in a team that wants to try and win the Premier League and the Champions League. No one's got more than 10 goals. Bear that in mind. I'm going to check my facts here. Trossard with 8. Mikel Merino, their defensive midfielder, with 7. Saka, who's obviously he's amazing, but how is he supposed to score the goals if everyone's digging in? Was that 6 goals? Declan Rice 4, and then you've got like Gabriel 3 goals, Thomas Partey 4 goals, Gabi Jesus, Odegaard he's only scored 3 goals this season, and then they're all like defenders. Saliba, Kivio, that are coming up. Calafiori for corners. That reminds me of a tactic of like a team that's going to get relegated. Play for set pieces and try and nick the game with a header. It's not an effective tactic for a team that genuinely thinks it's going to try and challenge for major honours. Let's fact check me. So no one got over 10 goals. Let's see that, compare it with someone else. So let's start at the highest possible rate. So Liverpool, top scorer Mohamed Salah, 29 goals. I think he may have got the golden boot for scoring the most goals in Europe. Luis Diaz with 13, Cody Gakpo with 10. So 3 players with well over, Mohamed Salah scored more goals himself than Arsenal have scored this season, I think. And then there are 2 further players with more than 10 goals. Okay, so let's say that they are an outlier. Let's look at Chelsea. Now, Chelsea have struggled for strikers this season as well, but how have they done in comparison? So Cole Palmer 15, Nicholas Jackson 10, Madueke 7, and they have had some issues with injuries up front, and they really need to buy a striker as well. Newcastle. Alexander Isak 23, then Harvey Barnes with 9 and Jacob Murphy with 8. So again, they've 23, so he's really carried them. Really should have like 2 strikers getting 10 goals each. Let's go abroad. Let's check Serie A and see how things have gone there. So I've got Napoli, for example, who just won the league. Lukaku with 14 goals, got McTominay with 12 from midfield. Yeah, that is pretty good. Okay, so there's 2 people with over 10. Inter. Marcus Thuram with 14, Lautaro Martinez with 12. So yeah, everyone else seems to have 2 strikers that get more than 10 goals each. And this is my point. We'll just prove it one last time with La Liga. Barcelona are obviously crazy attacking under this current manager. Lewandowski with 27 goals, Rafinha with 18, Ferran Torres with 10, Dani Olmo with 10, Lamine Yamal with 9. So they're a little bit of an outlier as well. What about Real? We know that Mbappe had a very high goal scoring season. 31 goals for him, Vinicius Jr. 11, Jude with 9. And that was deemed to be a poor season for Jude with 9 goals, which clearly is not true. And then Atletico de Madrid, Sørloth with 20, Julian Alvarez with 17, and then Griezmann with 8. So I think I'm right in what I'm saying. They need like at least 1 striker, if not 2, that are going to try and get 10 plus goals each. Because their current tactic is playing to a striker that doesn't exist, and they're having to rely on either the wide players to somehow dribble through 5 people, or desperately hope for a counter-attack or an opportunity on the break to try and score a goal. So it's not working at the minute. And I think that Arteta's on borrowed time with certain sections. I think, according to Reddit, so I don't know how correct that is, people are getting a little fed up now. They wanted to see results a little bit. They were, patient to begin with, but I don't know. If I were an Arsenal fan, I would be pleased compared to where you were 5 years ago. But at the same time, is it far enough? Did you want more? You are supposedly a massive club. You should be in finals more often. You should be challenging for the Premier League and winning it. And yeah, you let me know what you think in the comment section, please. Are you happy? I don't think you are, but how not happy are you? Are you like sack Arteta unhappy? Or are you, let's get Victor Gyökeres in, maybe another backup striker, and we'll be fine. So let me know. If you enjoyed the video, give me a like. If you are not subscribed, then subscribe now. Check out my previous video, which should appear here any second. And also write in the comment section which club I'm going to do next. I know I've got quite a few on my radar, but who do you want next? And, oh yeah, I've already done Chelsea as well. I forgot Chelsea. Okay, see you guys soon. Thank you so much for